this is Daniel Schottler's my second thing on Spreaker. The Warhawks football team won the national championship for Division III football. They beat Mount Union last Friday, 52-14. To just sum it up, that game, was it surprising me that Whitewater blew them out? Nope. Because going into that game, I knew that you kind of look at one stat on the Mount Union side was kind of could give it away easily because they gave up 99 points in the last two playoff games prior to that. And you look at the most interesting thing about Mount Union's defense from the whole season was that they had, look at the first part of their season, they had they only gave up 51 points from the beginning of the season to October 26th, and from November 2nd on through Stagg Bowl, they gave up an amazing total of 267. So going into the Stagg Bowl, I thought, this game is going to be a blowout. Matt Barrett was going to have a field day with that defense, and he did. He had 20 for 28 for 249 yards, 4 touchdowns. Things that I think, summing up the Warhawks season, things that impressed me the most, I didn't expect Jordan Ratliff and Booker Ross to be the number one, number two backs. Going in, I thought it was going to be Nick Patterson, Ryan Gibbons. Nick Patterson got hurt. It was out during the early part of the season. Missed most the rest of the season. Dennis Moore, who had started out the season pretty well, had a big first game against Wash U in the 17-7 win. But after that, he tore his ACL, and he was out for the season. So basically, you were depending on Ryan Gibbons. Ryan Gibbons got hurt, nicked up a little bit during the season, but he came back, and they had him playing on both offense and defense. So looking into next year, maybe they might move him to defense, or maybe have him play both. But looking at, what really impressed me was that they got some good productivity of these two freshman backs in Jordan Ratliff and Booker Ross. Another thing that impressed me with the whole season was, going into the season, one of the things I looked at with this Whitewater football team was the offensive line. Basically off the experience, they only started one junior all year in Lucas Skiba. So there's mostly starting freshmen and sophomores on that, and that kind of gave me a little bit of uncertainty on how good the protection was going to be, and it showed in the first game against Wash U, where Barrett didn't really have a pocket in that game. And what I credit the national championship to is their adjustment to that, because they adjusted from that game. They adjusted and maybe rolled Matt Barron out a little bit more, and that was what kind of helped. And maybe the short passes out to, they did a few bubble screens in a lot of the games, and good season, amazing season from Matt Barrett. Team record for touchdowns in the season with 40. It's amazing that he had one pick all season, which was against Platteville, which was a pick 6. So that, incredible season for him. Jake Kumaro had a great season. I think he was an honorable mention on the All-Americans. So the defense played how they expected them to. So the thing going into next year is going to be for my concern is, because they're losing all 4 of those really good linebackers in Cole Klotz, Ryan Cortez, Kyle Wismer, and Josh Williams to graduation, and who's going to step up there. I think it's going to be Matt Hoppe and Zach Nellis. At that spot, I think that's the spot to watch for next year. You have everything basically coming up back on offense. On the offensive side of the ball, with Matt Barron at quarterback, Jordan Ratliff, Booker Ross at running back, Kyle Christensen's back, I believe, at fullback. Offensive line intact, because that was mostly freshmen and sophomores, and junior Skiba's back. Wide receiving core, who's back, I think, is Jake Kumaro, Joe Worth, Justin Howard. Those three are back, so it'll be interesting how they replace Tyler Huber, Zach Howard, and Steve Morris with the wide receivers. But I think they can do fine with that. They lose 2 tight ends next year. Lost 2 tight ends to graduation. Derek Junigan had an excellent year at tight end. And proud to say it, 2-time national champion, once in basketball, once in football, and Chris Davis. So he'll be gone as well. So the starting tight end job is going to go to Logan Solano, who made some key catches, I think, in that Mary Hardin-Baylor game. So he'll be the starting tight end, so it'll be interesting to see who backs him up at that spot. Back to the defense, the Desant Manette, he's gone. Marshall Rutherford is gone. You're still going to have Michael Bratchett at one of the defensive end spots. You're still going to look for Kayvon Clunas out of Kenosha Bradford to step up there. Basically, you're only losing, I think, 1 in the secondary with Andrew Keister being a senior. So you're still gonna have Marcus McClin, who is I believe, second team All-American. Brady Gravold, who definitely played his way into a All-American spot, hopefully for next year. Or as they refer to him, Gravold Island in Whitewater. But you also get Ryan Winsky, who played well on defense this year, and Dylan Moraine, who had a pick in the Stagg Bowl. So I think this team should be poised to win the WIAC next year. Still a competitive conference. Nick Ola is pretty good he was a good quarterback this year for Oshkosh. I'm a little concerned about Platteville because Joe Kelly's gone there. So we'll see if they can bounce back, if they can find a quarterback like him. But some other things that impressed me about this year were the road through Stagg Bowl and the resiliency of Leipold's team in quarterfinals and semifinals. In the quarterfinal game, Warhawks trailed Linfield 17-0 early, and the defense wasn't playing up to its ability. And then late in the second quarter, Warhawks score to make it 17-7, and then basically held Linfield scoreless for the rest of the game, and they won, and they came back and won 28-17. The thing about Linfield is they weren't particularly healthy in that game, so that was one team that I think Leipold thought that could have beaten them. The Mary Hardin-Baylor game was interesting because they fell down 12-0. It's the similar theme in back-to-back weeks. Fell down 12-0. They scored late in the second quarter to make it 12-7. Then they scored again to make it 13-12. And then, they kick a field goal, 16-12, 16-15. And then that was their path to Stagg Bowl. So they went through the number 2 team in Linfield and number 3 team in Mary Hardin-Baylor and then beat the number one team how I expected it to be in the blowout, which is impressive. But so, and that was going back to, I remember being on Warhawks Sports Saturday for the final game against River Falls for the conference schedule for the playoffs, and I remember saying on air who I thought was going to be a tough task for the Warhawks, and I was right, Linfield and Mary Hardin-Baylor. So Mountain Union might, if Mountain Union's going to get back to Stagg Bowl, they need to fix one thing, and that's their defense. They're going to, on the Mountain Union side, they're going to be, they still have Kevin Burke has another year of eligibility, who's the Gagliardi Award winner and somehow got a Heisman vote, apparently. I believe they have B.J. Mitchell back, so we'll see what comes out. They really need to improve that defense, because that defense, Mount Union started off the season well, giving up 51 points in the first half of the season, and then absolutely fell apart because they gave up, I think, 34 to John Carroll, and then Heidelberg they gave up 30, and you look at the game against Wesley, they gave up 59, and then you fast forward, I think a week later to the North Central game in the semifinals, they gave up 40, and they squeaked themselves into so I think possibly maybe Mountain Union, now basically what that proves in Division III is you can play with the big boys. You can play with the Mountain Unions in obviously Whitewater, but Whitewater, really, was resilient, and they can, I didn't going into the Stagg Bowl, I thought, Whitewater could easily score 38. I thought it'd be a 38, 40, maybe 48. I didn't expect 52. And that's a testament. I think the stat obviously proved right. To have the fact that they gave up 99 points. Mountain Union gave up 99 points prior to that. Going through the stats, passing wise for the Warhawks in the Stagg Bowl, Matt Barrett had 20 for 28, 249 yards, 4 touchdowns. Wasn't sacked, which is another promising stat from the Stagg Bowl, because definitely with the inexperience going into the season, and it's definitely interesting to say the offensive line definitely stepped up all year. To not give up a sack in the Stagg Bowl is pretty nice. Kevin Burke, the Gagliardi Award winner, 22 for 31, 2 interceptions, which were to Brady Grayvold, which was a pick 6, and Dylan Moraine. He threw for 316 yards, which is a big game for him, but had no touchdowns. The problem with Mount Union in the Stagg Bowl was wasn't only the defense, it was that they couldn't finish drives. The game was a 21-14 game at half, and Whitewater actually blew the cover off of them. And looking at the wide receiver numbers, Jake Kummerow, 7 receptions, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Huber, who was the old man of the group, 4 receptions, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. So, and then on the rushing side of the Stagg Bowl, Warhawks were led by Jordan Ratliff, who had 28 carries for 147 gained with 146 net, 2 rushing touchdowns. Pretty good game for him. As I said, Booker Ross and him definitely stepped up, even though Booker Ross had only 1 carry in that game for 2 yards. Matt Barrett, they opened up the field for him that game, which allowed him to run a little bit. He had 6 carries for 56 yards in the Stagg Bowl. Ryan Gibbons, who's been playing both sides of the field on offense and defense, he had 4 for 15. So, on the Mount Union side, Kevin Burke, 12 carries for 15. B.J. Mitchell, 6 for 17. Logan Nemeth, who is a good back for Mount Union, 9 for 27. So they've limited them in the rushing category. I think Whitewater's done that all season with the running game. So pretty good. In the Stagg Bowl, Warhawks finished the season 15-0 as the national champions in Division 3. So, if I had to put my top 5 in Division 3, I would go Whitewater 1. 2 and 3 would be interesting because Linfield's really good, and they had the injury bug last year. This year, excuse me. Mary Hardin-Baylor, played Whitewater really well, so I think I put those 2 at. I think I put Linfield at 2, honestly, and then I put Mary Hardin-Baylor 3, Mount Union 4, and then maybe that's a tough one. Maybe North Central or Wesley 5 and 6. So Whitewater definitely proved that they've dominated in all sides of the ball in the Stagg Bowl, so it's proud that they're national champs again. It's amazing that 2 teams have met in the Stagg Bowl, which is the Division III national championship. The last 8, they've met 8 times in the last 9 years, and they're definitely proving that they're the 2 teams to beat. But I definitely agree with, want to see Whitewater face somebody else in the Stagg Bowl, but maybe that can end next year. We'll see. Mount Union needs to fix that defense. They're gonna want to come back. They squeaked in 41-40 in the semifinal game, so we'll see what comes in them. So follow me on Twitter, dshot1992. That's it.